All right, next up for the CRF300L is the rear shock spring upgrade. This is from RockyMountainATVMC.com. I ordered the Race Tech spring, and this is what comes when you order the Race Tech spring. Now, I got the 10.5 kilogram, which is for your loaded weight with luggage and everything, 235 to 265 pounds. So, this is what you get. That's the spring that comes, and it is actually an Eibach spring. That's the part number. Then you get these three other collars, and here's a spacer. There's the part number. See if I can get that where you can read it. Right there. Jesus, that's hard. Okay, I'm doing this with a GoPro. My other camera, I still don't have charging cords yet. There's that part number. And another collar. Now listen, I have no idea really how these things go. I did my 250L back in the day, which is basically the same setup, so I just have to kind of get the shock apart and figure out where everything goes. So I'm going to go ahead. I have the shock off already. I'll go over what I did to take it off after I get this all done and I'm ready to install it again. But I'm going to go over, get this thing in the vise and get set up and see if I can get the spring compressed and get it apart. Stay tuned. Okay. I apologize, I'm using the GoPro. I have the stock spring compressed here. Got my spring compressors on here. You just put the ratchet on top like that, crank them down, a little bit of each time, a little bit on each side, a little bit at a time, get it down. You expose the lock nut right here, which is a 22 millimeter. And I have a screwdriver through these holes. I'm going to attempt to break this loose. I may have to heat this. I think they put some Loctite on here. So I'm going to climb up my little stool here and see what I can do. Lock nut's free. Now I have to somehow figure out, I got to clamp something on this shock shaft, something soft, to see about getting this off here. So we'll be back. Okay, so what I did, I took a piece of leather right here, put it in my vice grips, clamped it on the shock shaft, not real tight, but once you heat this up and break the factory Loctite loose, I put a propane torch on it for about a minute. And as soon as you do that, it actually, it breaks right loose and spins right off. It's not even hard at all once you heat it up and get that Loctite broken off of there. This is kind of hot now though, I can't touch it. Nut's a little hot. Guess I need to let it cool down a little bit. Of course, that's what comes off of there. Now I'm not sure what I got to reuse because Race Tech basically gives you no instructions. And I did look up for the CRF, but it's very vague and they don't give you any pictures of how it goes. So you might want to do some more internet research. So I'm going to get everything situated here and then get back at it. All right, this is the new eye box spring right here. Now I am just trying to figure this out here kind of on my own. This is the big aluminum collar that they give you with the Race Tech eye box spring. So I put that on first, slid the spring down. I mean, this has a thin collar on it. And I cannot figure out how they want these two collars. They give you these two separate collars. The only system I have figured out is sliding them together with the slits opposite each other, and they do fit in here up top, and they allow this factory sleeve to go down in, and it takes up basically all the space in here. So I'm guessing that's what's supposed to happen. I don't really see any other thing I can do as far as making them fit and changing anything. So I basically think I'm gonna go ahead and go with that and maybe get this thing back installed, unless I get on my phone here and come across some other video quick. So let's see what we can do. All right, so I can't seem to find anything on this. I could call Race Tech. I know when I did my 250L, I called this tech line, and they answered right away, and they did direct me on what to do, but I just worry about this spring being straight on this aluminum, resting right on that aluminum with wear and tear, but I'm not sure. So what I did is like I showed there just a second ago, I put these two collars together and I placed the splits opposite of each other, and they fit in here really well. They're tight in the spring when they're both together, plus they give this good fitment inside there. So I'm basically going to go with that and roll with it and see what happens. And you don't have, this spring does not need a compressor to put it on. I don't think. All right. Now I'm going to shove this in, get this 22 millimeter in here, tighten it up on that. That. I did put thread locker on there. Now I'll turn the preload on this. Get this tightened up. Like I said, I would do a lot of research on this before you follow what I just did, because this may not even be close to what is supposed to be done here. Going to turn it in pretty good on the preload. I mean, there ain't going to be much preload left, but I need to back it off a little. Shall see what happens. Gonna go get it back on the bike. You can see here, there's the top of the spring. The only thing I used from Race Tech up here was the collar. Then I doubled their collars up down here, which could be totally wrong. I'm not saying this is right. I doubled them up, which took up all the slop in the bottom of the shock, then put the original parts back on. Okay, I'll kind of show you here what I did to take this shock off. Of course, I loosened the bolt up top first. You'll have a nut on the left side of the bike. Loosen it. I believe it was the top nut and bolt, 17 millimeter. Then you come down here. Okay, you'll take, this is the bottom shock bolt. You'll take that out, take that loose. There, then you'll have the dog bone right here. Take the long dog bone bolt out right there. That'll drop, this will drop. Then what you can do is you just pick your tire up like this, and that will allow space for the shock to come in and out. You can even just prop that up on put a piece of wood, like a 6x6 or something underneath there, or a jack, and get it up, which I'm going to do here to throw the shock on. If I can find something. See if I can. This is what will come out of the top of the shock. You have a washer on the nut side. That's through. Now this could be a little tough getting on, just because you got to reach back in on the other side, so you might want to put a little bit of something sticky on the washer and stick it to the nut, then put it on your socket and get it back in there. I'm using this extension and socket to get back in there. You just got to push a couple wires out of the way, and once you do that, you're back in there. think I got it started. Okay. Now, I have to take out what's under the rear wheel. Come on. There we go. Now, it will be easier to tighten this one up before you put your dog bone up. These, I believe, they are 14 and 17. Easier to use a ratchet also. I don't know the torque specs. Just give them a pretty good crank because they were pretty tight when they were on. Now, of course, this one you will now have to move the suspension to get yourself lined up. Shouldn't be that hard. There we go. Need a little wiggle. You got to be careful. You don't want to mess the end of your threads up. All right. So there we go. Kind of a little bit of a chopped up video, but I'm going to go ahead and get this buttoned up, and then I will be having a full ride review on the suspension, the Race Tech, because I have the front forks are done and we have the rear on now, so we're good to go and test everything. Like, subscribe, get on that red pig and get outside.